It's like playing Jenga with your face. And there's a premium on youth, isn't there? In our culture. In this business, it's magnified. And I learned this when I was in my early 40s, how you just have to look young for this business. And I was in LA, I had a good set. So did all the other young comics, early 30s, 20s. They had good sets. After the show, there's a man in a suit, very important looking, across the crowd. He was eyeing all the comics. And we thought, oh, he's a manager, he's an agent, he's coming towards us, somebody's gonna get a break. Who will it be? The older guy who's paid his dues, or one of the youngsters? He came straight to me, only I got his card. Was he a manager? Was he an agent? No, he was a plastic surgeon. Oh, and I got his last card, by the way. Plastic surgeon with one card, 300 people, I got the card. What does that say? And I asked him, you think I need surgery? I've been thinking about it, but you think I need surgery? I'm not ugly. And he said, well, come by my office sometime, we can talk about it. And I said, well, can't you just eyeball a diagnosis? In fact, did you not just eyeball a diagnosis? When you gave me your last card, making me the winner of your little ugly contest right there? Can't they just eyeball it? Does anybody know? Or are these plastic surgeons like all the other doctors? You know, they take your pulse and they weigh you and measure your height. Then there's blood samples, urine samples, stool samples. Do the plastic surgeons do that? Call you a few weeks later with the results from the lab. Well, we got your results back, sir, and you do not look good. Much worse than we thought. We found ugly in your blood, your urine, and your stool. High levels in your stool. You are butt ugly. I think you should do something about this immediately. You don't want to die like this. I recommend emergency elective surgery. First thing Monday morning, I'm going to cancel all the other appointments. They'll be kind of upset because they're a little ugly too, but I'm going to show them your picture. They'll understand. And then you would say, well, this is weird. I did not even feel ugly. And he would say, well, you've probably been ugly for years. You just got used to it. As did everyone around you. This is what the plastic surgeon told me, which I kind of admitted. He said, like you said, you're just getting a little older. And he's right, especially in this business. Why look a little older when you can get some plastic surgery and look creepy? Why? Oh, that's not fair. Because it works. A little plastic surgery looks great. I have friends who've done a little and it looks awesome. They do a little more, it looks great. They do a little too much and whoa! That's how it is. There's no such thing as a little too much. You cross the threshold and bammo! It's like you adjust, you make another adjustment, and then it all falls apart with the last little. It's like playing Jenga with your face. And I'll probably do it. I'm probably gonna, because I worry about, I'll do it, and I'll lose. I'll lose playing Jenga with my face, show up at my family Christmas party, and of course my 4 older brothers are gonna bug me about that one. Ooh, Bent, I see you got a little work done. A little bit, it looks like a little too much work. Look like you... Is this the look you were going for, or? Were you surprised? You look surprised. You look You look shocked, frankly. It's like there's an air horn somewhere and you're the only one that can hear it. That's what it looks like. But a little's great. My name is Bengt Washburn, and I have been doing stand-up comedy for a living for 26 years, and been doing this for 26 years, and I still have to tell you who I am. I'm glad you think that's funny. That's how it's been going. Not famous, and I'm a comic nobody's heard of. In fact, when you're not a famous comic and you are funny, people are surprised. They're surprised. They'll come up to me, man, you were not bad. It's confusion. It's like something people believe. If you're a comic and you're not funny, it's because you're incompetent. That's fair, right? If you're not famous for doing it, you're not good at doing it. That's fair. I think that's a standard we should apply to everybody. What you do for a living, sir? What's your job? What was that? Structural engineer. Hate to say this, but you don't look familiar. I can't tell who you are. What's your name?
Kevin Miller.
Kevin Miller. Never heard of you. You must suck. Must be pretty bad. I mean, no offense. I'd still hire you. You're all I can afford because I'm not famous. That's how it goes. So you know how it feels, don't you? Not being famous. It's awful. It's awful. Every time we meet someone, we have to tell them our name. It's humiliating. Have to tell them our name because we're not famous, and then they have to tell us their name because they're not famous either. Then, of course, we instantly forget each other's names because neither of us are famous. Why remember? You know, it's a meaningless interaction. It's humiliating. Is anybody famous here tonight? Do we have any famous? Not one famous person. This is a ludicrous meeting. Okay, well, we'll do what we do. Of course, people wonder this. They'll say, Bengt, you're not famous. How did you get this sweet dry bar gig if you're not famous? Well, first, I told them I was somebody else. And then I didn't let them find out who I actually was until it was too late. See? Tell them you're someone else. Don't let them find out who you are till it's too late. It's a lot like running for office. It's very simple. And, right? We know showbiz and politics long ago won. All right. And of course, the longer you're not famous, the worse it gets. The older you get and not famous. Because see, there's the thing, a young comic, you say, well, they're not famous yet. There's still time. They could pan out. They probably won't. That's the business, but it could. It's more awkward. When a comic my age has a bad set, it's way more awkward. Because there's still hope with a young comic. They have a bad set, and you go, well, at least they're young. At least she's young. Hopefully she gets better. One day she's famous. She makes her parents proud, right? I have a bad set. Well, at least his parents aren't alive to see this. Are they dead? I hope they're dead. Ooh. They're not. Don't show them this, for goodness sakes. It's the last thing a parent should see is... Show's going well. I mean, for someone who's not famous, it's pretty good. Didn't swear once. I'm pretty proud. Not once. All right. The career's going well now. It actually is. I mean, I'm not famous, but when I started, it was awful. I got to be honest. When I started comedy, I was a 30-year-old man living in a tent, divorced, and living in a tent at 30. That's when I started. Divorced and living in a tent, which was, I could have slept on couches, but I wanted the tent so that I'd have more privacy for crying. Turns out it's very hard to cry in a tent in the woods. First time I did that, I started crying and then I heard something outside. Just, yeah, I couldn't get it out of my head. If you're crying in the woods, there's a bear or a mountain lion thinking, hey, is that a wounded animal? I was in that tent, and it was tough. You don't want to tell. It's tougher for kids. That's who divorce is horrible for. They live in two different worlds now. That's very hard with different rules. Those irreconcilable differences, two different places affect. Like my daughter, she's with her mom, who's very neat and tidy. Bedtime at 8, do your homework, bedtime at 8. And very kind, not like me, nice. Oh, don't say stupid, honey. Stupid's a bad word. That robs people of their dignity. Then she comes to my house, bedtime at 8, that's stupid. And sometimes she would correct us with rules from her mom's house. Oh, Grandma, you said stupid. My mom says the word stupid is bad. My mom says the word stupid robs people of their dignity. And then my mom has to defend her position. Oh, honey, stupid people don't have any dignity. They lose that when they do something stupid. Just ask your dad. Oh, he knows. Living in a tent. Pup tent. Can't even stand erect in his shelter. Really, it's not a shelter, it's a tent. It's not a shelter when you can get killed in your sleep by a lawn dart. But I had a blunt mom. She was great, very blunt. I didn't tell people I was going through this bad thing for a long time, and then finally started telling people about the embarrassing tent divorce situation. And when you tell a lot of your friends and family that you're divorced, you soon find out which of your friends and family should also probably be divorced. Based on their response, told one of my brothers, man, I'm divorced and living in a tent. He said, man, I kind of envy your freedom. Ooh, that's a bad sign for a marriage. If you're jealous of a homeless man's freedom, that should never. If you see someone sleeping on a bench in a park at noon and you think, man, my wife would never let me do that. That lucky guy. Noon, sleeping peacefully, unmolested, whole bench to himself. Look at that. Didn't know. You can turn it around. That's the beauty of life. Life can turn around. You make some good decisions in a row, you just hold it together, and this is an amazing, true thing. This is totally true. I met my wife of 18 years while living in that tent. Isn't that amazing? Here's how. But here's how. Blind date. It's crazy, huh? Thank goodness for horrible friends. They lined her up with a homeless dude. They didn't even ask. I don't know what they told her. Well, he loves the outdoors. He's good with knots. He smells like DEET. But you won't have to worry about gnats or mosquitoes on your date. We dated all summer while I lived in that tent all summer, and then I know for me, things got really serious in the fall as it got colder. And then we're married happily since then. So it's going well. It is. It has been going well. In fact, this is how well it's going. I bought new clothes for this show. How about that? Totally new clothes. I know the pants don't look new, but they are. That's how expensive they are. See all the fading? That's pre-faded. Yeah, you pay extra for that. I remember, this is how old I am. I remember when pre-washed jeans were the rage. Then they came out with pre-worn, and then somewhere in like the 80s, they came up with pre-destroyed, mauled, shredded pants. And my first thought was, how do you get out the blood stains? It looks like you just pulled those out of the hamper at the emergency room. Wow, this guy got stabbed in the groin. Those are great. It's crazy. And then the kids want them. And it's awkward as a parent to buy a teenager a pair of those pants, because as a parent, you want to make your teenager feel grateful/guilty about everything you buy for them. And it's hard to do with these pants. It doesn't work verbally. Well, you are lucky, kiddo. I hope you appreciate. Why, when I was your age, we had to wear out our own clothing. We had to. If I wanted pants like that, I'd have to, I don't know, get mauled by a badger from the waist down, roll around in bleach. No, our clothes were new. We looked ridiculous. Couldn't afford to pay someone to mess up our pants like that. It's amazing. People get paid to do that somewhere over the ocean. There's kids like messing up these pants, or maybe not. Maybe they just wear out their pants and ship them here. Maybe the teenagers are wearing secondhand third world clothing. It's possible. But actually, that's not what's going on. They're in a factory, just a young kid in a factory, like 14, wearing perfectly new pants, because that's all he can afford. He's like going at him with a fork and a saw and sandblaster, and then, man, Americans are crazy. This is weird. And now I can't. Now that I can afford the really torn up, crappy pants, I can't wear those. At my age, you can't get away with ironic poverty. It won't. Yeah. So I won't look hip, I'll look homeless again. Can't get away with irony and sarcasm as much. I find that's an age difference. At my age, it's hard to get away with sarcasm because young people just think you're being mean at my age. Say, I was kidding. I don't think you were. It's irony. I was being ironic. Really? At your age? I don't. Plus, what is and isn't mean has just changed. The boundaries of propriety. And I lose track. I'm always inappropriate at the. Like this happened. I was joking around. I was buying televisions. I was going to buy I was going to buy multiple. I was buying a television. Things aren't going that well. And we had all the TVs out in front of me, and I'm trying to choose them, and I got it down to, like between a Sony, that's like a Japanese television brand, the Sony and a Samsung and an LG, and I'm looking at like 7 or 8 screens for like 40 minutes, and I just can't figure out which to get, and finally I turn to the clerk, and I say, you know what, I hate to admit this, but to me, I think all Asian televisions look alike. It's a joke. It's a joke. Come on. Because that's what he did. He kind of shook it off. Like, come on, I was joking. And I can't tell the difference between Asian televisions. They all look the same. He could tell, of course he can. He's Korean. He could tell. Yeah, he's Korean or Japanese, I can't tell. But the point is that racist? I don't think it is. It's just I'm stupid. And inexperienced. I've never had the opportunity to see those two different nationalities next to each other. You know, side by side. I didn't have it in college. I never took a math class. That was a little racist. That was. But also accurate. I never took math. Some people would say I'm racist. I don't think I am. I know this. I'm definitely less racist than my great-grandparents. That changes over time. Did you know this? Racism that term wasn't even coined until 1902. 1902 they came up with that word, which seems a little late. To be doing something that much and not even have a word for it. Hundreds of years. And it makes me wonder, what horrible thing are we doing now that we don't even have a word for? And then your kids are gonna come up with that word, young people, and they're gonna throw it in your face like, Grandpa, you were a swiggler. We were all swigglers. Everybody swiggled. It was a different world. Yes, we accumulated debt. We lived beyond our means. We swiggled, yes. And you know why we accumulated all that debt? Because it's expensive to ruin the earth. Costs money to make all nuclear weapons and chemical weapons, big piles of them. Costs money. Then you got to pay someone to guard that. All that plastic in the ocean, you think that was free? No, we had to buy that. Throw it in there and buy some more. Do you know, if we hadn't spent that money right now, it would only be 2 degrees warmer instead of 6. Do you know that? It takes money to turn up the heat. We hadn't done that, right now, you'd be wearing a sweater. You're welcome. And those torn pants would be a bit chilly, wouldn't they? Yeah. You're welcome for that. I don't know, that's a touchy subject. Global warming, very political. The weather is now the most political hot topic. Used to be literally small talk. Now it'll start a fight. And I bring it up and everybody's wondering, does he believe in global warming? And I will answer your question by asking you a question. Do you believe in global warming? Because honestly, whatever you believe, that's what I'll believe. If I hang out with you long enough. That's how we work. I think the problem is, it's just too easy to believe stuff. Humans are really susceptible to believing stuff. Do you know this? Humans will believe just about anything if we hear it 3 times. If you hear something 3 times, you'll believe it. Do you believe me, or do I need to tell you one more time? This is how it works. This is how it works. You'll hear something crazy the first time, you might not believe it. Maybe you heard this. Maybe this swept through Provo, Utah. Did you hear this? Do you know the average person swallows 8 spiders in their sleep every year? You heard that and your brain said, that couldn't be right. But a couple days later, you heard someone else. Did you know the average person swallows 8 spiders in their sleep every year? And your brain says, yeah, I think I've heard that before. Then a couple days later, you're with someone. They said, did you know the average person swallows 8 spiders? Yeah, in their sleep every year. I know, I'm not an idiot. All right, I hear stuff, I remember it, and I believe it. I'm like you, I'm self-educated, all right? An 8's just average. That's average, okay? That's the average. It depends on where you live. Depending on how many. I've noticed this. Once you believe just kind of BS that you hear, you will add your own flavors and spices. 8's the average. If you live way up north, it's too cold, not as many spiders to swallow, plus more beards per capita, so the spiders can't get over the beards while you're sleeping. That drops the average. You live by the equator, it's way too big. The spiders are too big to swallow. No one swallows a tarantula in their sleep. That drives the average down. What drives the average up is the temperate climate, like through North America there, where there's trillions of bite-sized spiders living there in the spider belt. Or arachnid alley, depending on which term you hear 3 times. So we're just susceptible. You can end up with this dumb opinion. You ever had one? Sure. If you haven't, then you definitely have some. That's how it works. And it's easy to form a dumb opinion and keep it. And the smart opinions are tough, right? You gotta learn stuff and think critical, and there's logic, and stupid opinions are way easier. You form them, easier to defend too. Like a smart opinion, you gotta cite evidence. Stupid opinion, this is how you defend a stupid opinion. You ready for this? This is how you defend. This is how you do it. Well, that's what I heard. You can just cite hearing it as evidence that it's true. If it's a dumb enough opinion, well, I've heard it like 3 times. Okay? Everybody's saying it. Any idiot knows. Yeah, we consulted the idiots. We thought, well, let's see what the idiots are saying. They're really easy to defend. They're also easy to attack. This is how you attack a stupid opinion, right? This is how you do it. Well, that's not what I heard. You will just cite not hearing it as evidence that it's not true. You expect me to believe there's something true I haven't heard at least 3 times. Look, this is the first time I'm hearing this. And none of the idiots, look, I'm an idiot. Look. And then you get defensive. We do that. People get defensive, huh? They're like, well, you calling me a liar? No. Maybe I'm just saying, maybe you heard something that's not true, like 3 times. Then believe it. I'm not calling you a liar. I'm calling you stupid. Yes? You say I'm stupid. You're saying I'm stupid. Well, that's what I heard. Several times. It's your wife. All the idiots. You hear it 3 times, you believe it. Here's what's weird. Confirmation bias. You heard of that? I have several times. Confirmation bias is the part of us that if we hear something that matches what we already believe, then we'll believe it the first time we hear it. So now you're believing stuff the first time you hear it if it matches up the stuff you heard 3 times. See what I mean? This is how it works. Like, do you know the average person swallows about 18 insects in their sleep I believe it. We're already swallowing like 8 spiders. It's probably why they go in there. They're chasing the bugs. That's what's going on. It's a wonder anybody starves, frankly. So that's the way it is with global warming. It's one of these things. There's definitely a generational difference with the global warming. That's like my daughter, whole different feeling about it. There's a warm day in winter here a little while ago. It was like last year. She was 7, and she came home from school scared, talking about global warming. She was scared by a warm winter day. When I was a kid, we enjoyed a warm winter day. It was fun because we didn't see it as a symptom of impending doom. So we enjoyed it the same way you would enjoy sudden weight loss until you find out it's an intestinal parasite. Oops. Woo, fun. And actually, it was a lot worse. I don't know if you know that. If you're not old enough to remember, the environment was actually much worse for a while. We made progress. We should be happy about that. The air, way worse. Way, way worse. It was so bad. The environment was so bad, we noticed it. Us. The scientists didn't have to tell us there was a problem. You know, like with global warming, would you notice that on your own? Really? If you lived by a glacier? Yes. You would. You'd look out your window and say, wow, we've got a yard now. Full of boulders. When did that happen? But like global warming, the ocean, it used to go up like a little under 2 millimeters. Now it's going up about almost 4 millimeters a year. But really, would you notice on your own that change in depth when you went to the beach? Would you go to, hey, does the ocean seem a little deeper to you this year? This seems a little deeper. Have you noticed that? Yeah, and it's a bit more acidic. Did you taste it? It's zingier, isn't it? It's more acidy. I think you're right. I think this beach could use a couple tablespoons of baking powder. Let her do it. You wouldn't notice. Whereas it was so bad, it was so nasty. We didn't need a scientist to tell us in the 70s that there was a problem when in 1973, the Cuyahoga River in Ohio burst into flames. See what I mean? Any idiot knows there's a problem when there's a flammable river. Doesn't need to be a scientist. You don't even need a GED for that. He's probably some junior high dropout down smoking by the river because it was good for you. And he like threw the butt in the river and I was like, oh, that is not supposed to do that. That is, I'm not a scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's supposed to extinguish my cigarette. It is. This is spreading like a son of a gun. Well, yeah, call the fire department, but tell them to check their water. Because we might have had us a paradigm shift here. Flaming river. And I feel bad for the scientists in a way, because they have to try to communicate this stuff to us. To a guy like me for years, I thought, well, why can't you explain it to me? Many people, they will, well, explain it to me. And they're like, Ben, we can't. You're too stupid. What do you mean? I'm too, remember earlier how you didn't take math? That's the problem. You don't get it. And then they have to try to not only point out something you wouldn't notice that make you worried about it. And they're not always the best at marketing. Global warming, bad word. If you want to mobilize people, don't put warm in the title. Oh, no warm. Will it also be toasty? Right? Warm is at worst inconvenient. At worst, like, dang it, my Kit Kat melted. Completely. Wrapper, all the contest instructions covered with chocolate. Now I have to lick off this wrapper to see if I'm a winner. Warm's not scary. Now in the 70s, bad problem, genius marketing. Whoever came up with this great idea to mobilize people. What's scarier? Global warming, acid rain. That'll get your attention. Acid will be raining out of the sky. You want all the information and details. Well, what kind of acid? Holy cow. What kind of acid? Like sulfuric? Battery acid? What do I pull my car into the garage? That kind of acid? Or is my hippy-dippy neighbor gonna run outside with his mouth open? Is this a party or a problem? That's the name. That'll get your attention. Anybody's attention. Acid rain? That is crazy. That's even Old Testament crazy. Even the Old Testament God would like ease up with, you know what, Moses? Let's hold off on the acid rain. Maybe we would just not. Yeah. Second thought, let's hold off on the acid rain. Let's see how they respond after we kill all their firstborn. You guys have been great. Good night, everybody.